is Carlos Moedas. I'm currently a trustee at the Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation, and I was for 5 years the commissioner at the European Union for Research, Science and Innovation. When you talk about bioeconomy in general, then you talk about the blue bioeconomy. You're talking about ways of getting more food to people, ways of feeding animals and in the industry, and also ways of getting compounds in the health sector, in cosmetics, in your day-to-day life. And so the importance of that is that resources are limited. And the resources that you have at the level of the land are today in danger. So you have, in one way, to look at what you can get from the water, the sea, at that level, but not to do the same mistakes you did at the level of the land. You have to actually get it in a circular way, where you have no waste. And so the blue bioeconomy is exactly this amazing place where you are getting to a different resource, trying not to make the same mistakes you did the first way around. And so the big challenge is, how do you basically get to products that have exactly the same quality as the products of the linear economy in this circular economy, so people naturally make that choice? And then how do you go to this amazing place which is the sea? And a colleague of mine at the Commission used to say, we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the sea and the deep sea and the surface of that sea itself. So it's a new world. I mean, we know very little. And I think that's the big opportunity for this generation, is to have something like the moonshot of Kennedy, to go and discover the moon. Now you can go and discover the new moon, which is the sea, which is this amazing idea of the circular, the blue economy, that for me, they are all there. The point is that the new strategy for Europe that we are developing now with Ursula von der Leyen is about basically two things: the digital and the green. You are in the midst of a merger in between the physical and digital world, and at the same time, you know that you have to get to this circular green economy, that it's the only way to save resources for our children. And so I think that these 2 points are extremely important, and you will have a lot of resources, so the financing will come, because 37% of the funds that will go to this program that will get Europe together, the 750 billion, 37% of those funds, which is a lot of money, will be for greening the economy. And the blue bioeconomy is exactly part of that. And I think that people sometimes, they don't see how big is that, because you talk about a niche, but it's a niche that can develop in something very big. And I always tell people, things that are very simple, like antibiotics, which today you cannot get more antibiotics in the surface of the land, but you can go to the sea and get new compounds that will be the new antibiotics, new treatments. Everything can come from the sea if we do it well. And so this niche, I believe that with the funding from the European Union, will become more than that, will become a way of dealing with the future and getting our economy greener in the sense of circular sustainability and getting an economy for the future of our children. So I think that Europe cannot change everything, but can steer the ecosystem through financing, through regulation, and through the ideas that we launched just before I came of the European Innovation Council, which is a great point of entrance for these kind of projects that are the blue bioeconomy, and they are part of that. Probably in my generation, people would see that as a barrier. But today, when you look at, for instance, the green tech, the technology in the green economy, what you see is that in Europe there are 6 million people that work in that industry. So when the lobby of, for instance, the automobile industry comes and says how important that industry is for Europe, which is very important, but I normally say, look, on the construction of cars, in that industry, there's 2 million people. So there's more people working in the green tech than in the automobile industry in Europe. So the green tech today has more people, is more important, and on top of that, this generation wants some kind of purpose. So I think that there's no doubt of the importance of green tech for the leadership of Europe. When you look at the biggest companies on green tech, I mean, most of those companies are European. You know, the people sometimes ask me, what's going to be the new Facebook or the new Google? Is Europe able to do that? And I say, but the new Facebook or the new Google of the future is not Google, is not Facebook. I think the new Google of the future will be on these areas, on the bioeconomy, on the blue bioeconomy. And so I think that the young generation somehow should be looking at these industries as the future Googles and Facebooks and Twitters of the future, because in 30 years, in even 15 or 10 years, these will be the main thing. I mean, if you want to be carbon neutral in Europe, if you really believe that by 2050 you want to be carbon neutral, if the president of China comes and says that he wants to be carbon neutral by 2060, I mean, what do you think will be the opportunities in the business world? They will be there in this sector, but we cannot see it yet, and that's a pity. I think we are at a stage of very, very basic questions that we have to answer as a society. So sometimes it happens to people that tell me, but tell me stories about what you've done in the blue bioeconomy. And I say, look, we have helped these companies in a very stage of creating just the network. And people say, but what do they have discovered? I mean, they have done a lot of things, but I think that we are not yet at the point that they will immediately change the world, but they are changing by creating a network. And so the physical world was a vertical world. And today the world is about the network that is horizontal. And so what we are creating first is that network. That network will have influence in designing the regulation of the future so they can have more opportunities. That network can actually get together to have a bigger amount of pipeline so venture capitalists look at the network, and you can find the synergies to scale up your ideas because you'll know other people that are also in your chain of value, and so you can do it together. And so this is what we are doing. I hope that in 5 years down the road, we will do something different, which will be at a different phase where the regulation will be there, where finance will be there. And so there the big challenge will be just one, which is the scale up of the ideas to the networks. How does it work, and how you can get those networks to work. The fact that is pretty impressive in this program that we are talking about, the Blue Bioeconomy program that we have, is that we were able already to help more than 40 really startups to get their act together, to feel that they are in the ecosystem, that they can talk and learn and get new skills, know how to talk with venture capitalists, know how to talk their business plan, how to develop those ideas. I think those are things that you don't change the world, but it's a grain of salt, it's a little bit of help that if we do it all together, we can make a difference. And I think Portugal is the right place to do it. So everybody that comes from all over the world, they come to Portugal exactly because they feel that here we are developing that ecosystem. We're looking for people that really are passionate about this area, passionate about finding a purpose, a view that others will not find because they don't have that passion. And I think that don't really underestimate that, because what keeps you going every day in such a difficult road, which is to create a company, is that your passion is so big that even when you fail every day, when you're depressed, when you are alone, when you think that you cannot make it, that your passion keeps you going. And so you have to surround yourself by people that are different from you. If you are the dreamer, you have to be surrounded by people that are not dreamers. If you are the detail guy, you need the dreamer. And so look at that and create your teams, not trying to find people that are like you, but people that are exactly very different from you. And so think about that, because it's much easier when you are creating a team to say, why don't I get my friends around? I mean, we are eventually, in my case, like all from the south of Portugal. We have the same background. We will start working very quickly because we know each other. But the potential to create something new is very low if you're all alike.